100 Proofs the Earth is Not a Globe by William Carpenter. Proof number 7. If we take a trip down the Chesapeake Bay in the daytime, we may see for ourselves the utter fallacy of the idea that when a vessel appears hull down, as it is called, it is because the hull is behind the water. For vessels have been seen and may often be seen again, presenting the appearance spoken of. And away, far away.
Far away. All right, I get it.
Beyond those vessels, and at the same moment, the level shoreline with its accompanying complement of tall trees towering up in perspective over the heads of the hull-down ships. Then, since the idea will not stand its ground when the facts rise up against it, and it is a piece of the popular theory, the theory is a contemptible piece of business, and we may easily wring from it a proof that the Earth is not a globe.
Hello, what ho! Welcome back to another exciting adventure of The Plain Truth. I'm your host, Travis Finlay. So I'm doing some reading in this article, which is a bit frustrating because it's not very clear, and I've got to just take my time breaking it down. What I find really interesting with no qualification, here's the abstract, okay? Here's the abstract. 2 unusual forms of inferior mirage are observed and photographed at Halligan Sea, with heuristic analytic functions for the temperature profiles, numerical integration of refraction, differential equations on a flat Earth is performed. The simulation shows that a double inferior mirage can appear if a light wind carries hot air from above dry sandbanks in the mudflats. Horizontal stripes can appear in the mirage image if a water channel crosses the line of sight between the observer and the object. But here, it's like they almost have an insider's language. Like, he doesn't qualify this. So anyone who's reading this in the Optical Society of America back in 1998, they knew what was meant by a flat Earth. But there's no qualification here in this entire article. It's just a term that seems to have no need to be qualified. And I think he says it again later on in the beginning. But what I want to look at right now is something that I'm working through in terms of talking about this. So I'm going to read this part here. The typical inferior mirage, I'm right here. The typical inferior mirage has a simple appearance consisting of one upright image of the object on the top and one inverted image on the bottom. Inferior mirage images with another image structure are referred to as unusual inferior mirages. A thorough analysis of the photograph shows that below each upright image, there is a strongly contracted inverted image. In this paper, this form of mirage is referred to as a double mirage. Instead of an unusual inferior mirage, he just calls it a double mirage. Okay, this is just a makeshift, okay? This is to show you where the physical upright image is, okay? That's the upright image. You're looking straight out, and that's exactly where the image is, okay? Now when you move down into the mirage, okay, here, right here, is the limit of the mirage. Right there is the limit of the mirage. How far away from the original image is this? This is what I'm talking about when I talk about the mirage being like a shadow of a tree, okay? So let me bring the, just real quick, here's my thesis. The image of the inferior mirage presents itself along the x-axis. Therefore, there is physical distance from the vanishing line to the limit of the mirage, for which account must be taken. Okay, so now the tree is going to be analogous to the physical image up here. Okay, now the mirage here is analogous to the shadow of the tree. This shadow moves from the tree toward the observer. This mirage is presented toward the observer. So this location right here where the mirage ends, to me, that could be 3 miles. That could be 5 miles. I don't know. It could be a mile. But part of this analysis has to do with knowing where this apparent horizon is, because the apparent horizon is created by the mirage, and the mirage is obstructing physical ground, just like if this were a shadow. If this were a shadow, you'd have no problem understanding that the reason why you can see the shadow is because there's a surface upon which that shadow is being presented and you can see it. Okay, it's the same thing here. Same. This is the same. Okay? So what the article is talking about is right here. You have the physical land above, right here, and then you have the mirrored image right here. And then underneath this, you have the sky. You see that sky right there? That sky is this sky. This reflection of the sky, that's a mirage, okay? You don't have a problem understanding that because you have a contrast here. But let's pretend there was no landscape here at all, and all you saw was ground. Oh, apparently the sky, and then up here is where the mirage would stop and the sky would kick in. You wouldn't know. You would not know there was a mirage in front of you. Without, well, I mean, if you had the ability to zoom in right here, you could see it dancing and this, that, or the other, sure. But when we're talking about looking out over the horizon with our naked eye, and all we can see is the open sky, we're not seeing. This is not sky right here. This is not sky. This is not sky. Just like that's not a tree. Just like that's not the house. Just like all of that. Okay. This is very simple. Now, how many, he wants to put more than one image in here, and I suppose that that's possible because you have the sky mirrored here and the source here, and then you have another dark image here, but there's no dark image up here. So it seems to me that he's saying that it's folded over twice on itself. That, to me, would speak of the fact that we have a crazy amount of distance here. Crazy amount of distance. That's what would happen if you could have enough of an angle to see the entire reflection, entire mirage, okay? The mirage is not a 90-degree angle. When you look out straight ahead, you're looking up in a two-dimensional fashion, but in the 3D world, this is actually distance until you get to the observation, okay? A mirage is not a 90-degree image. it is along the x-axis.
P.S. My thesis. Like the shadow of a tree is only an apparent vertical image, so too the image of a mirage is only apparently vertical. The image of a mirage is along the x-axis, presenting itself toward the viewer, extending over various distances depending on the intensity of the refraction phenomenon. The image to the right with the Victoria Clipper that we will soon get to. I know that I haven't touched on Redracer yet. I'm just really trying to build up the infrastructure for my addressing his video. The image of the Victoria Clipper is not to scale and is intended simply to illustrate the concept. The one thing that you should realize is that the entire ship is always there directly in front of you in any degree of mirage. The horizon is created by a refraction phenomenon, either with or without mirage. Here is an obvious inferior mirage. The mirage, again, is not vertical, but along the x-axis, including the apparent sky to each side of the buildings. Each of the triangles below represents the x-axis, or depth distance, or the horizontal plane. Therefore, the triangles represent a degree of angle over distance which is obstructed by a phenomenon of refraction. Again, the image above the horizon is not vertical, it is not 90 degrees, and so is therefore obstructing all three dimensions which physically exist beyond the mirage. The buildings are 90 degrees, but where the mirage begins, that is no longer a 90-degree image. The apparent limit to the water is not physical but optical and the result of the conditions of the medium through which the observation is being made. And then finally, the last image is an image of the distance to New Orleans. This is a 28-mile observation. The far right pane is what you can see with your naked eye. Do you honestly think that you would understand and know that what is out there above the horizon is an inferior mirage? No, you wouldn't. Okay? And that's where this is a game changer. Everything out there between these buildings above the horizon in the same degree of angle of the inferior mirage that is obvious with the buildings, that sky is not real. It's apparent. It's a mirage. All right. Thank you so much for listening again to this exciting adventure of The Plain Truth. I'm your host, Travis Finley. Until next time.